my name is Lacey from LaceyJoy.com, and on this channel we talk about speech, teaching, and maximizing your life. Today we are going over tips on how to stay on pace during VIPKid lessons. VIPKid lessons means teaching to at least the 25-minute mark, and there is nothing worse than realizing the goodbye slide is too far away or realizing that you're almost done and there's lots of time left. Let's learn some tips so that you can go into your lessons feeling as confident as you can. Let's get started. Tip number 1, do a quick review of the lesson slides. Even if you're a seasoned teacher, you quickly realize as you teach for VIPKid that 45 slides may only mean 25 slides of true lesson content. There is nothing worse than getting to the point in a lesson where you have 5 or 5+ minutes left and there are only 4 slides of project review left and the goodbye slide. Eek. And that's why I think the most important thing you can do, even as an experienced teacher, is to prep focusing on the tail end of the lesson. I realized this pretty quickly, so I created a printable that helps me stay on track and jump between slides confidently. So I fill out one of these sheets before each day of classes, and you can use multiple sheets obviously. So I take my sheet and I open the lesson materials tab and I jump to the end of the slides, which is usually the blank slide. And I write that number under extra slides right there. I also add any extensions that a class might have. I think this one might have been a supplemental grammar course, and they sometimes have past the goodbye slide extra content in case you have extra time. And so I'll include that so I can see where I should jump to and the blank slide. Because you can use the blank slide for drawing, playing a game, or just keep up while you're doing your extension work. I also include the end content column, what exact slide ends the true lesson content for that lesson. So I know when I'm teaching Mike, I need to make about 25 minutes by slide 23, because 24 to 27, we're going to talk about the project. So that maybe will take 30 seconds to a minute, if at all, if he already knows what project he's going to do. This is also really great for assessments, because sometimes there's a free talk slide after the assessment is over and there's the "you did it" slide. So you'll have that recorded and you'll be ready for it, and you'll be ready for that transition and to account for that time it's going to take. So when I teach, I actually just set the paper at the corner of my laptop and I sit it right in front of me, and so I can actually write notes on the side and it's within view, so it doesn't look like I'm looking totally off camera while I'm teaching my student. So I use the notes section if I want to mention something to parents or to the LP, which is the learning partner, in the class feedback. Also, if there's a physical prop as you're prepping that you want to remember to grab in between sessions, like, oh, I really want to remember my lion puppet, you could write that right there. So I personally fill one of these sheets or 2 of these sheets out for every single group of lessons that I'm going to be teaching that day. I used to use just a little notebook, and you can do that too. But if you would like the printable, this is a freebie that's available to you on my website, LaceyJoy.com. It's available when you sign up for the newsletter and click that you're interested in online teaching. Yay! The printable also includes the tips that we're going over today, so if you want to print these out to refer back to, you can. And there's also an example of how I use the form. Tip number 2. So when first starting out with VIPKid, it's more important that you do a more thorough review of the slides. But then as you're learning and picking up on the flow of things, you start to understand the flow of the lesson. You start to learn that some slides take longer than others, and how to use that to your advantage. Be patient and let yourself become the expert with time. Tip number 3. Tip number 3 is spacing out the rewards. Plan for 5 minutes per reward. This is where I find the pacing freebie comes in handy. You can take that total of the true lesson content slide number and divide it by 5. Then you can see roughly how many slides you should be getting through in 5 minutes to hit your time in a more comfortable way. Some lessons have about 25 to 27 slides, but you're hitting that last true content at about slide 21 or 23. Maybe there's a project review, an enrichment, and the goodbye slides. So by having this in front of you, you are ready and you know how to appropriately pace your lessons. This has also been super handy for supplemental courses because their number of slides and additional slides at the end has varied quite a bit, and so this lets you move forward confidently with clicking between the slides that you need. Tip number 4. So these tips are specific to level 1 lessons. You want to plan on hitting that big unit song by 13 or 14 minutes into the lesson. So I make sure to write that slide number on my note section so I know what slide number that is, so I can pace myself and either go faster or slower based on how quickly that's approaching. Also, when I first got my level 1 certification, you kind of have this moment when you're reviewing wondering, how am I going to say hi for 1 minute? Some of those slides are it's level 1, right? Hi! My recommendation is have your pacing card filled out or use that notebook, and make sure you have your puppets, your VR stickers ready to go, props, and you want to say hi to everything and everyone, and just do a high amount of repetitions. Otherwise, you will be ending that that lesson a little too early. And you gotta make it to 25 minutes. And I find that the students usually giggle at this and they're fine with it and they play right along. And you can also Dora it, as they say, where you just perform it, because these level 1 kids sometimes are just watching or they may be fussing a little bit, and you still want to be able to perform for them, essentially. Tip number 5. Tip number 5 is when you're looking at the time and you're like, ooh, I have another lesson to get to, or woof, it's getting long. This is also when your pacing sheet comes in handy. You can jump to the enrichment/goodbye slides without having to click through all the slides you're missing. And this is rare because you are taught do not skip anything, even if you just touch on one thing and then go to the next slide. But we've all had emergency situations where we need to be briefer than brief, and it's best to feel confident in those situations where you know exactly where you need to go without showing, oh, this is all the things we didn't have time for today. You have it right in front of you. Tip number 6. Tip number 6 is when your lessons are going too short, your kid is a rock star super speeder, and you're looking at the clock thinking, oh, I'm gonna have 5+ minutes left. What the heck are we gonna do? And this is the child for that famous extension. So you know in your pacing sheet or in your mind that when you hit that free talk slide, it's most likely going to be almost the end of the lesson. So a tip is, use that free talk slide for as long as possible. You can use that slide for extension and try to drip every little bit out of it and use it to its full capacity. Talk about every detail on that free talk slide. Ask questions. And that free talk slide can last a few minutes on its own if you're not ready for other extension. And this is also when those extra slides come in handy on your sheet or on your notebook, because you know exactly where to jump to, even if it's past the goodbye slide, so that you can get to that content. Even if it's just jumping to the blank slide, it looks better than, pushing past and getting to that blank slide. It's better just to type in that number. And you can also just jump to that blank slide for while you're extending the lesson. You can use it for drawing, for a game, or just have it up as you're communicating. All right, I hope those tips helped you today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know in the comments below if you have any other pacing tips for everyone. If this video helped you, please like and subscribe to my channel. The link to my website is in the comments if you want to sign up for the newsletter to get that pacing freebie. And if you're looking to teach from home and would like to know more or need a free mentor for VIPKid, please email me at the email in the description box. Thanks again, everyone. See you next week. Bye! My glare is pretty bad. Moisturize. Sanitize and moisturize.